For people.
Yeah.
I saw the one person commented that they like love this deck, and I was like, cool.
The archetype deck.
Yeah, like on the Facebook post. Okay. But it would be awesome.
Hello, everybody coming in. We're adding maybe some Friday. Hey,
Hello.
Sandy. Some Friday crystal talks. Friday crystal, and I feel like we should have our coffee.
Yeah,
Like, what were
definitely.
those church ladies from Saturday Night Live? Their coffee talk, crystal talk.
Yeah, exactly.
But on one of the last lives, we had a lot of people asking to discuss shadow work, and I have Emily with me. That's the other voice you hear in the background.
Hello.
And she actually teaches some shadow work classes, so we asked her to kind of gather some stuff. And if anybody has like, even if you're like, what the hell is shadow work? Let's do it. Yeah, Friday crystal talks.
Yeah.
um, so maybe we should start there. Maybe Emily, like, what exactly is it versus like what TikTok and all the social media says that it is?
Yeah. So, one of the things a lot of people associate with shadow work, as soon as they hear that, they think of something painful. They think of something they want to steer away from because they kind of would rather not look. But that's the whole point. um, the whole thing about becoming aware of your shadow, as Carl Jung puts it, is your unconscious beliefs, the programming you've received throughout your life from other people that you're still maintaining, whether you realize it or not. The best thing about becoming aware of those things, oh, they said the volume's a little low.
Okay.
I'm getting closer. I don't know if that's helping.
Get closer, Emily. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And let's check audio
Yeah,
back
I
here.
can.
We got the mic volume up. Okay, maybe it was just
Just because I was a little further away, maybe.
maybe is that better? Okay.
Okay, so you said it's a little better. So just in case you didn't hear me then. So shadow work is your unconscious self. It's programming you receive throughout your life, with a heavy emphasis on your inner child because those are our formative years. Also, unfortunately, that is when we experience a lot of trauma, whether we recognize it as that or not. When we become aware of our shadow, we start to see how it's making us you sit on that camera how it's how it's making us behave in certain ways or repeat certain patterns throughout our lives, and they're not always positive ones, so it helps us to see that and make a change. The first step is being aware of it. A lot of the time people think this is just their negative traits and negative patterns, but these are also the really positive things about ourselves that we have a hard time accepting. Is the volume any better on this? I'm pretty close here.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, closer.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
All
Just
right.
wait.
Hopefully that's better. Mm. Well, I guess I'll ask a question, and this will be a good test if you can hear me or not. Has anyone like heard of shadow work before? Is what I said a little different as far as what you might have thought of it when you first heard it? Just curious to see anybody's opinion on that. Not as bad as it was. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say all the settings are correct, and we use this for our Tuesdays with Nanette, and nothing's different. So I'm wondering why.
I wouldn't call myself a really soft-spoken person either. So you've heard of shadow work, but always been scared of it. So that's one of the things that I hear a lot is people will say like, oh, you shouldn't start shadow work unless you have somebody like a therapist or somebody who's doing it along with you. That being said, of course, when we're unpacking really severe trauma, there is no shame in having a therapist help you do that. So I will say that. But there's also a lot of things in our shadow that can be what some consider minor shadow aspects, right? But they're actually affecting our lives a lot. And we should be able to go in and heal that on our own. And sometimes, as much as you can have help from a therapist, of course, making that decision on your own to heal that and to like bring that in is half the battle there too. So, hi, Nanette. Some of the fear too, I think, is people are afraid to learn something about themselves that they don't like, or accept a trait about themselves that they really, really avoid taking responsibility for. Um, but the thing is we're going to not frame that as such a negative thing, because you're not just seeing these negative things play out, these negative patterns play out. We're getting to the root and the why you're doing that. Once you become aware of it, it doesn't have so much power over your life. If you're feeling really stuck in life, shadow work is probably the next step for you, I would say. Can't recommend it enough. We definitely, and for the people too that are fearful of doing it on their own without somebody experienced or kind of to walk them through it, that's why I offer my shadow work class. Because I'll be sitting along right there with you. We can help address things that might come up that would be tough to talk about. And it also was really cool because we created this like environment of just radical like self-love, acceptance from everybody. And it was also really interesting to see a lot of the women think that they were alone in something, because it was primarily women. Men of course can do it too, but it was just happened to be women that were in the class. But it was like this group of people that were so supportive of one another and so willing to say like, yes, I can relate to that, I do that too. And then it doesn't make you feel so alone.
Hey, Aki.
Hello, precious potatoes. I do feel like a potato today.
Aki, he is a streamer and he does a lot of support for mental health.
Oh, wonderful.
Thanks for coming, Aki.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Carl Jung, who coined this term, was actually like a psychologist. So while this is a lot to do with spirituality, and while there are so many spiritual tools that can help us along with this, it is like a psychological term. And it's something that a lot of therapists and psychologists actually use in their practice. Whether they would actually call it shadow work or not is is up in the air, but definitely using a lot of these practices. Potatoes are good, dear. Embrace the power. Yes.
I mean, they do give us backup. Yeah, feel free to ask question, guys, about anything Emily is saying or asking, or maybe you've started the journey and you're feeling kind of stuck. Some advice. And I did ask Emily to kind of gather some items on the table. So that's what you're looking at: stones that are going to help with that, some oracle decks that are going to help with that. Oh yay! I'm glad you're hearing better. Hassan.
Oh, good. Okay.
And some books that can help with that, and like that Wild-Hearted Purpose book. I actually have a copy at home that I'm like getting ready to tab out to do an in-depth review on. But I'm like, Emily, you got to check this book out. It would come really helpful. But
and it's sitting in my little pile of stuff that I'm always accumulating. So I got it.
But I guess while we wait for questions, if you want to start kind of like what you chose and why.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start with this here, because this is a crystal that I just recently started working with. It's called Caribbean calcite. Pretty easy to understand why, considering it looks like the beautiful Caribbean, right? But I love that because it's such a peaceful, calming crystal. It also helps you to communicate your feelings a little bit better. So some throat chakra work, but also helping you to just remain really calm, balanced, and centered while you're doing this shadow work stuff, so you're not getting too overwhelmed. I see here you have a question. You said, how can you, does shadow work ever end? Honestly, this might not be the question everybody or the answer everybody loves, but I don't think it does. I think that we spend our entire lives uncovering stuff, because as we're deprogramming ourselves, we're also receiving more as we go throughout our life. Also, healing isn't linear. I like to think of it as like an upward spiral. So sometimes you might heal a shadow aspect, and then something comes up in life, and the universe is like, oh, is that really healed? Are you really past that? And we'll almost, I don't want to say test you because that sounds like malevolent when it's not. It's a gentle healing thing. They're going to bring it, the universe brings it back up so we can really see, like, am I past this, or is there another layer I have to go through? It does get easier as time goes on, for sure, because the first things that you're going to start uncovering are the things that are really, really affecting you right now.
Yeah, and then Cosmic.
How can you use tarot with shadow work? So actually, that is, I love tarot. That's like my other side of, I'm obsessed with this. So
Slight addiction.
yes, slight addiction. Probably bought about 4 decks in the last 2 weeks. So I definitely think we can use tarot along with that. It's kind of funny because tarot is the fool's journey, right? And the fool starts as a blank slate. He is almost naive in a way, but also has this like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed energy about him. He's so excited to start. The fool's journey in tarot, you can almost liken that to a shadow work journey. Is you start really excited, and then as it progresses, yeah, exactly. Some emotional maturity, you hit the tower, so definitely you could use tarot with it. Even asking yourself, if you have a good relationship with your cards, like, and you're having a hard time starting, like, what is a shadow aspect I need to work on? Flip that over, see what comes up, because I'm sure that you can relate to it in some way. Oracle cards are also excellent. You said, does it have to be dark alongside it? It can be. Yeah, any deck that you relate to is going to work well for you because it's the one that you have a relationship with and can understand what it's trying to say. The one I really like to use, though, and I'm actually teaching a class on this too, an archetype class. It's by Carolyn Miss. So archetypes, it's kind of like shadow work too, because it's these patterns, these roles that we play out in our life, and it's like a universal thing. So everybody has these certain archetypes within them. So that's a deck I would recommend.
Did you want to show some of the cards?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when she does this class, like, not only are you going to have like 2 hours at least of instruction and material, but you get a full copy of the deck too as part of the class.
Yeah.
So
pull that one out. And this, just pulled a couple out to use as an example so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this one is called the Beggar. This is actually one of the archetypes that plays a role in my life. Now, this is somebody who might see themselves in a constant state of lack, right? Or they think that they have to prove themselves, or they think they have to strive for one thing or the other. What's cool is it shows light attributes and shadow attributes on that, and that's what's so important about shadow work, is it's not like all these negative aspects. It's how can I accept that and turn that into something positive. So that would definitely be one of them. One of the unconscious beliefs you would be holding might be like, I'll never make more than X amount of money, or I'll never be as successful as my peers, or whatever it is. I need somebody to come rescue me from the situation I find myself in, instead of you rescuing yourself. You're begging, and it's not always money. You could be begging for love. You can be begging for attention. You can be begging for acknowledgement. So that's one of the archetypes I'm using as an example. The second one here would be servant. We've all been a people pleaser probably at some point in our lives. We are going to stop doing that. Shadow work helps us to move past that. But the servant, again, would be somebody who is gives all of their energy, time, everything to other people, and doesn't often get a lot in return. Being aware of these archetypes is an aspect of shadow work and will help you really excel in that journey. It's also not linear, like I said, and there's no timeline. You can work on the same shadow issue for months and months and months because it takes you a really long time to unpack that. Whereas another one, it's like, okay, this came up and I only really need the day to figure out where that's coming from.
Oh, what advice do you have for being triggered?
So, crystal
so
wise,
sensitive.
I know. Yeah, crystal wise, I really like. It's actually not a crystal, I don't think, but it's called shaman stones. Another term you'll hear them called is mogi marbles. I don't actually think they're interchangeable though, but you might hear them called that. But shaman stones, One is positively charged, one's negatively charged. When you hold one in each hand, it forces you to be grounded. That helps to pull you out of the initial panic. Then what you're going to do is, first of all, just try and stop yourself. I know that's so hard to say and do, but stop that like panicking train of thought, like where you keep racing thoughts and don't have time to really check in with yourself. So do that. What I like to do is I try and picture if it were a really close friend of mine or a family member that was feeling triggered in that way, what would I do to help them feel better? Moki balls is what other people will call them, right? So one of the things I do, this might sound like so silly, but on my mental health journey and everything, this has really helped me. If I'm feeling myself being super, super triggered, especially if it's in a public place or it's somewhere where I feel like I can't do the normal things I would do, like take a bubble bath, take a hot shower, whatever it is, go in the bathroom, turn all the lights off, and sit in there for just like a minute or two. You're re-regulating your nervous system there. The somatic healing and the nervous system healing also goes hand in hand with this. A lot of our shadow traits come up when we feel like we are in danger, and that activates our fight or flight mode. If you're somebody who has experienced a whole lot of trauma or just negative circumstances, you kind of might be stuck in that fight or flight mode. So that the healing, the meditating is really going to help with the triggering. Also talking about it. Again, like I said, awareness is like the first step. So if you're with somebody that you really trust and you are triggered in that way, see if you're comfortable enough to bring it up with them. And they might really have advice to offer you, because sometimes our people know us a little bit better than we know ourselves. So don't ever be afraid to ask for help as far as that goes either.
It's funny because I then often wonder like how many people that are triggered more often or easily, like where are they on the autism scale?
Yeah, totally
so
true.
Realizing which is it one or the other.
Right. And that's actually a disclaimer I want to add in here right now. So while shadow work is awesome for everybody, I think everybody can benefit from doing that. We kind of talked about it a little bit before, but I'm not going to say that like some people try and say like mental illness, things like that are caused because we aren't integrating our shadow. I don't really go that far. I think it can definitely help you. Like if you have severe anxiety, such as myself, and I kind of have gotten to the root of why are these certain things causing me severe anxiety. That being said, that doesn't mean that you don't have the diagnosis. It doesn't mean you shouldn't reach out to a professional if you need it. And also there's no shame in needing medication or something. If somebody, suggests that for you to feel better, definitely suggest doing it. Shadow work will not cure that, but can maybe help you deal with some of the symptoms.
Yeah, by no means should you replace one with the other.
Exactly. Exactly. Gotta add that in there. Yeah. Just like with Reiki, you can have Reiki to help your physical ailment, but you should probably also see a doctor. So
yes, please.
But yeah, definitely would recommend getting this deck, even if you don't, sign up for the class or anything. Caroline Myss actually is the one who wrote Soul Contracts. So some would also say that like we make these contracts in our life to have certain people in our lives who trigger certain shadow aspects that trigger healing. And some would say, some wouldn't. I'm kind of in the middle on that. I'm very focused on this life and healing this life. But just something to add in there. Caroline Myss is a really awesome resource as far as that kind of stuff goes. Definitely is more in like the psychology, personal development side of the spiritual community, which I really lean towards a lot. So, I guess I'll keep talking about some of these crystals here. So, you all probably know what this one is. I will never not talk about this crystal. This is something, honestly, everybody should have on them. Black tourmaline is what it's called. it helps to protect your energy. It helps to protect you physically. Definitely a lot easier to start your healing journey when you're not being inundated with energy all the time. Also helps us to just stay grounded. That would be a good crystal to keep on you if you catch yourself being triggered often. Hello, hello, Brooke. So yeah, I would definitely recommend having the black tourmaline on you while you're doing your shadow work. It's going to help you stay grounded, help you not get too sucked into the past. Um, Sometimes people have a hard time understanding because they're like, if I'm trying, like, why would I do shadow work if the past is the past? I'm trying to move forward. Um, yeah, we shouldn't live in the past, but also ignoring something doesn't mean that it went away. And like I said before, you might not be aware that these things are causing you to behave in a certain way. I'm going to give an example with that. Actually, I use this example in my Soul Connections class. It's on the 27th coming up, but really relevant to this as well. So, one of the things we ask is like, what is a trait that you find yourself seeking out in a person in a relationship every single time, right? Do you find yourself dating somebody who doesn't acknowledge you or ignores you, or you feel like you constantly have to prove yourself to them? Then go back and think about your relationship with your parents, and see if there are some parallels there. We tend to either go for somebody exactly like the people that raised us, or opposite, unless we obviously like integrated our shadow, dealt with all of that. But when you're unhealed in that way, same goes for like friendships. You find yourself in the same situation over and over. One of the quotes from Carl Jung that I love and use in my class, he says, "That which remains unconscious manifests outside of ourselves as fate." So if we keep ignoring these things, the same situation is going to keep popping up over and over and over again, because we haven't learned how to move through that yet. We haven't learned that lesson. I know we all have different beliefs, of course, but I think I think one that all of us can probably agree on is that we are put on this earth to grow as people and to do better as people and to do better for ourselves. So, all of these things I'm talking about, I really believe that those can benefit from that. I've definitely seen benefit from that. Um, can definitely help your confidence level as well, if you have self esteem issues. So, and that is so cute. One of these, the next crystal I'm going to talk about is mahogany obsidian. Right now, we only have the tumbled ones, but they're still very beautiful. I like this crystal a lot when it comes to like breaking patterns, and finding things that aren't necessarily completely visible at first, or like we're not aware of it at first. It helps us to dig a little deeper and to break these patterns that we keep repeating. Okay, so you wanted to know if you can use runes along with them and if you can use them with shadow work. Really, any form of divination you can definitely use as shadow work. Runes are nice because they're a little bit more general, and it's just like that one. You know, you can pull one and see how that relates to your shadow work journey. So you could even ask yourself like what has been a barrier for me getting what I want, right? Pull a rune and that's going to answer your question. So you can use them in that way. Definitely would recommend though consulting like resources and stuff if you're not super familiar with working with them, just so you don't kind of, runes are like old and sometimes it's
And
like
they can
peril.
be a little more harsh.
Yes, exactly. So don't be alarmed if they're like your crops will all die and ruin.
Like, oh, you're worried about resources.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So yeah, that is one where runes are a little bit more. They kind of
Talk some
slap you
shit
with the
to
truth.
you about you.
Exactly. Okay, so you said my first marriage was when you were very young. We were both so desperate to be loved by somebody. Yeah, and you know that does happen a lot too, because when we want to like, when we come from a harsh family life when we're younger, A lot of people find themselves with this desire to like start a relationship right when they kind of move out of that because they have this desire to start their own family and to like uphold the values that they want to uphold. Um, so that definitely can happen a lot, and it can either go like one of two ways. Like sometimes you guys really grow together and can help heal each other. And then other times, you know, one person normally doesn't really meet the other person where they're at, and it can have like a lot of tension. And then eventually, you know, you go your separate ways. I'm a firm believer though that there's like benefit to both of those, and there, you know, you can learn from both of those situations regardless. Okay, so you said you've never used the runes, but because you never looked at what the symbols mean. Oh, sorry, click
Yes,
it.
exactly.
So, there's a lot of different like places that you can look up the symbols. We have a lot of books here that are very, very extensive on the history of the runes and what each rune means. We also have some really lovely rune sets here for people who are interested that don't have them yet. Would definitely recommend getting them because first of all they're made out of crystals, so can't go wrong there. But also definitely if that's something that you felt connected to, then I would explore that further for sure. All right, and while we're waiting for some more questions, I will point out here's smoky quartz. So if you're a crystal person, you probably have heard of this one. This to me is the crystal for like transmutation. Okay, so first of all, it does help with anxiety. It is grounding, which is always something that we can use when we're doing shadow work, right? But also, it helps to take these negative things, quote unquote negative. I don't like to label, but whatever. Take the negative things and turn them into something positive.
But we are. No.
Yeah, but we're labeling. And that's literally what shadow work is, right? We're taking these negative aspects and trying to reframe them as something positive. I really want to reiterate too that sometimes what we think is negative actually is a really positive trait. One of the things I shared with my shadow work students was when I was younger, surprise, surprise, I was told that I talk way too much, right? I was always told. I mean, I remember an adult even telling me like, oh, if you can stay quiet for like 10 minutes, I'll give you $5, which is like funny now, but probably wasn't funny when I was younger. And I really internalized that. So I grew up kind of like not talking as much, making myself small, didn't want to annoy anybody. When I started doing the shadow work, I realized like, no, I don't talk too much. Just because those people may not have been able to meet me on the level I was communicating at doesn't mean that I talk too much. Really, I'm a good communicator. I might be good at public speaking. So, reframing these things that you might see as like a personality flaw as something positive. You might have been told you were really bossy or aggressive when you were younger, because people don't really like when children talk back or any of that. And then as you get older, you realize, no, I'm a leader. I'm really good at leading and having people listen to what I have to say, and I have really great ideas. So just trying to be mindful of that.
What's that saying? If you're like, you're intimidated, like, no, just are you intimidated?
Exactly. That's exactly it. So, and people point those things out too out of insecurity. A lot of the time, if people are knocking you for something, it's probably something they're a little bit jealous of.
Ooh, shadow work on pets.
Hmm. So, I think that you could, but it definitely wouldn't go so far into like obviously the psychology as it does with people. But I do think that pets can benefit from all types of healings, and maybe if the pet did have trauma, that is something we would carry with them. So you could kind of liken it to that. More so that I'd probably recommend like energy healing, or like people can do Reiki on animals, which is awesome. You could pray for them and stuff too if you work with any deities, ancestors, guides. We also have a animal communicator that works out of the shop sometimes, Elizabeth Figueroa. She's excellent. So that might be another way to kind of bring this in for your pets. But yeah, definitely not going to follow exactly the same dynamic as it would for people.
Okay. Caught up to questions again.
Yeah. This is one that if you've been in the store, I've probably thrown this at you and tried to get you to buy it before. And this is why I think everybody can benefit from some Mangano calcite. Some people say it's the energy similar to rose quartz, and it kind of is, but I don't. I think of it as like it's very, very gentle and sweet and loving. And I don't think of it so much as like romantic love or anything like that. It's specifically, I think of it for self love and gently healing grief and trauma in a way that makes it easier for us to cope with it. Some crystals kind of like bring it all up real quick, like a malachite maybe, not as gentle as the Mangano calcite would be. If you're like me and you're reckless and you're just like bring it on, then do it. Get some moldavite or something, you'll be fine. But um, drawn to rose quartz, but I feel it isn't doing anything for you. Um, Honestly, the way that I tell people to like find their crystals when they come into the store, because not only do I teach and read and stuff, like I'm an employee here, so I've kind of seen a lot of this stuff play out a lot, which is kind of gives me a cool take. So what I tell people is come in and pick up, like literally just walk around and see what you're drawn to. It sounds so simple, but the universe has a way of giving us exactly what we need when we need it. If you're finding yourself in a metaphysical shop and you're drawn to a crystal, I would bet my money that there's a reason for it. Feel free to, like, I don't know if you're local or not, but if you are local, you could always ask us, like, first of all, for help, like, what are some good crystals for this, right? You want something for self-love. Somebody might say, okay, rhodochrosite, mangano calcite, rose quartz, pink tourmaline. And you can look at those, pick them all up, see which one of those resonates for you, because it is different for each person. Me and Eileen, my coworker, like I love black tourmaline. It's one of my favorite crystals. She says that that energetically isn't the same for her. She'd prefer to go with like selenite or something else. So definitely is relative to each person. I will say I haven't had a lot of people say that they don't love these ones. So that is the reason why I recommend them a lot, is because I feel like it does help a lot of people.
And a fun fact, Mangano calcite fluoresces bright neon pink under black light.
It does, and it's super cool. Which kind of goes along with the shadow work stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're asking where our shop is. Our shop is located in North Olmsted, Ohio, but we do also have an online store that you can shop at, and that way, you can still get some of our items even if you're not local. You could even message us and stuff, like if you want a crystal for a specific thing, if you need help picking things out. We're always more than happy to talk with you and figure out what exactly it is that you're looking for. We've had people say, like, I just want crystals for self-love, and we kind of put a bunch together and send them pictures, see what they like, and that way we're making sure that even though you don't get the opportunity to like be in the physical store, you still kind of feel like you are, in the sense that you get to see everything.
And we can do like a private like Zoom or FaceTime
Right.
for you too, and like show you things live as we're picking it up for you. And which we've done that quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's fun for us too. I kind of like, it's a little mission for me. So
I hand her the phone and let her go.
yes.
Just have at it, Emily.
So yeah, but if you ever wanted to stop in, if you're local or ever in the area. Oh, thank you, Adora Brooke, for helping us out. Yeah, and a lot of our classes too, we offer through Zoom. So even if you can't sign up and be here in person, you could do it via Zoom. Especially with the shadow work class, it is a 3-part class. It's because I don't want to just like dump all this stuff on you and then dip. Like, I'm gonna help you work through it, and there's different facets of it. So if it's hard for you to commit to being here like 3 weeks in a row, then Zoom is always an option.
Mm-hmm. Which in each of the 3 parts is like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. That's for sure.
So, it's one of those deals of like, it's not just a quick 1-hour class. It is meant to really get in there and kind of dig some stuff up.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Can I get it on this?
So Amy, if you go to the website and click on events, when you kind of get in there, it'll tell you which ones, and you can always send us an email and be like, hey, which ones are, you know, Zoom available? Because there are some that just quite aren't Zoomable, I guess, if that makes sense.
Right. Like
But
you're making something or you're, or certain energy things like I could see why wouldn't be for Zoom, but even we have like full moon and new moon circles. If you see Radiant Reiki in the comments,
She's
that's
there.
Nanette. We
Yes.
love her.
Feel free to give her a follow as well, because
Yeah.
she does her own stream. Like, she was streaming last night doing soulmate readings and talking about the
Yeah.
class and doing some energy clearing. There she is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and she does full moon and new moon circles, and you can join those on Zoom, which is really cool. So
Mhm. Do we have free classes for those that are broke? We try to do things like this, like the informational talks where you can ask some questions. Emily, we did talk her into the dark side of joining Twitch.
yes.
So we're going to be working on helping her grow her channel. So what is your Twitch, Emily?
It's called Emily Barrett Tarot. So my last name is B as in boy, Arrett, for those who want to find me. Actually, let me see if I can go into Twitch right now and comment so that
yeah, but
y'all
we try
see
to do
me.
discussions, kind of like this to help people out. But when we do those full blown ones, like, again, like, you're getting a copy of the deck and like so many hours of instruction, and right, and Nanette also offers free healings on Tuesdays.
Oh yeah.
Twitch. So there she is. There's Emily.
That's me. Also, we do have a lot of classes. Like if you are local, like there's a development circle, which is $5. There's a divination meetup, which is $5. So while it's not free, they're at least affordable. So
And we've been kicking around kind of starting an online only version of some of those.
yeah.
So people who aren't local, we were trying to do Zoom with the in-person, and it just got to be kind of hard because a lot of those events, like, you pair off with somebody to practice,
Right.
well, what do you do with all your people in Zoom? Then you have to go and pair them off in separate rooms while trying to keep an eye on the people
It's
in
a
person.
lot.
So I'm like, okay, Zoom needs to be its own thing.
Moves to America right now. Oh, you're with us in spirit. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we will definitely let you guys know when we get the Zoom version of those going,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then you can join us from anywhere.
Yeah, we've even talked about like pre-recording things and sending them
Mhm.
out that way. So we're really trying to kind of just broaden our horizons, just so that we can, reach as many people as possible. Our goal is just kind of like spreading this energy out. Like we want to create a community where everyone can heal and also feel safe. So yeah, definitely check us out on our socials. Stay over here even if you can't make it in person.
Right.
One thing I didn't touch on that I kind of want to, and I wish I would have grabbed the statuary, which I always could go do it, but working with certain deities while doing your shadow work. So I really work with Sekhmet a lot. She is the daughter of Ra, that basically it's like she teaches you how to use your anger righteously. Like how anger can be your friend because it's a part of you that loves you, that's angry at the way others are treating you or the way things have happened. So Sekhmet is lovely. Kali, well, she's not really that lovely, but necessary. That's what I should say. Kali is awesome. Kali the Destroyer. So
They all have their beauty.
yeah,
It's beautiful anger, beautiful destruction.
exactly. So being friends and at home with that dark feminine energy, or just like the darker deities in general, there's a reason that we have both. It's really important to also acknowledge the dark side of things, just like we have new moons, which is coming up right now. It's a kind of a good time to talk about this, but we have new moons, we have full moons. It's all a cycle. The same goes with the shadow work stuff, because it does work in cycles. You kind of uncover that first layer of the onion and you dig and dig, and then you peel that layer back, and then the next time you go through, there's something else waiting for you.
It doesn't end.
it doesn't end. It's an endless onion. But or even like those Russian nesting dolls, maybe. I don't know if that'd be a better explanation, but either way, like kind of we were talking about before, it doesn't necessarily end, but I will say you do become more authentically you and more whole as a person as you continue on doing it. So if we didn't see benefits, we probably wouldn't do it at all. So
Mm-hmm. Learn to be uncomfortable in that change
yes,
of betterment.
exactly. And there's so many things that have to do with it too. Like one thing is ancestor work. So learning that maybe the shadow attributes that you have are ones that have been passed down through your family. An example might be getting in an unhappy marriage. You find yourself settling for less. You're in an unhappy marriage. And then you go back and think, and you're like, wow, mom, grandma, great grandma, great great grandma, all of them did the same thing. Maybe I want to cut that cord now, or I'm going to end that cycle because I'm saying no more. You don't want to feel like you're on this merry-go-round spinning over and over and over and you can't get off. So shadow work gives you like that control over your life. It also gives you like that ability to respond, because we can't control what happens in our life, right? But we can control the way we react to it, and we to an extent can control how it makes us feel. It helps you just cope with it a little bit better.
And see, we did nothing different, so the audio suddenly just
okay.
Great.
I'm probably yelling now.
Yeah, I wish I would have brought in the Deep Dark Dangerous Oracle to show, because those cards can kind of like lay you out.
Yeah.
But these were other ones that we kind of found. The Wild Woman Rising, like kind of getting in there, what is underneath, what's coming up, how to work with that gracefully. So I'm sure at some point there will be reviews of these coming up.
Oh yeah.
I've
got a stack that I'm trying to get to here.
I still need to catch up. Like Holly, there's like four more of hers that I still need to do. She did 6 in one sitting, and I'm like, shit.
You're like, oh man, that means me. That's me. That
trying
has
to edit
to
all
do
that. Like, and Shadow and Light, I think, is a good one that looks very light and happy, but when you start looking at it, like that is pain and change, like down in here in these words. So it looks fun and happy, but you know, it can talk some shit about you too.
Kind of like me. No, I'm just kidding.
You want to talk about your dad?
Yeah,
talk about your
exactly. Look very sunny, but the shadow work stuff is my forte for sure. So most of your practice with Aphrodite and Nike, you said. Yeah, so I'm not super familiar with Nike, to be honest. So don't know too much about that. But Aphrodite, great deity to work with, because she's all about love, that Venetian energy, and pleasure too. So sometimes like we kind of take that pleasure away from ourselves because of some of the shadow beliefs that we have. Like if you're somebody who can't relax, doing that shadow work might teach you to learn how to take a break and not work from home. And
why do I feel attacked all the time?
Why am I looking at Melissa while I'm saying this? Oh, Aphrodite. Okay, so another Aphrodite devotee here. Oh, and you said you've been working with your ancestors too. Awesome. And so if you think about it too, like ancestor work is so important when it comes with all this, because those are the people that are really rooting for you, right? Like they want their bloodline to continue and thrive. That being said, sometimes this brings up some like weird feelings for people because not all of their ancestors are necessarily great people. To combat that, I normally say when I call on them, I'll say like my ancestors who lived and died well, or my ancestors who follow my beliefs, because I'm like, I don't want you like old Uncle Joe that like, you know what I mean? Like, no thanks, not inviting you in. So
now I'm getting called out in chat. Amy.
I know you saw that. Nike represents victory and becoming victorious. Yeah, and that's awesome. That's a really, really cool deity to work with. I thought it was that, but I didn't want to just say it and be uneducated.
Then, like,
so
not be correct.
yeah, I'll let somebody who works with her actually say it. But Okay, you say that you've never worked with a specific deity. So sometimes people have a hard time working with deities because there's a lot of like etiquette that goes along with it. The deities that I work with and the way I do it, now this is different for other people. So if this is not you, then that is totally fine. And your way is just as valid as my way. I almost think of deities as archetypes. So Sekhmet, the righteous anger, a lot of women empowerment energy, like that. I'm going to honor when I'm honoring her. I'm honoring that aspect of myself. So that might be a good way for, oh, no volume now at all, huh?
And yeah, we haven't changed anything. Like,
I
I wonder if it's a Twitch thing, honestly.
It might be.
Yeah, you can hear. Okay. I'm wondering.
Twitch sometimes does cut out occasionally. Okay, so you all can hear.
Some can hear and some not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering if it's a Twitch, maybe, or
Yeah.
Because literally, like, other than putting comments on screen, like, we're not touching it.
Right.
So.
But yeah, a deity pool. So that's how you found Apollo. Yeah, that's really cool. And that's the other thing too, is like if a deity seems to kind of be like because that's really what happened with Sekhmet. Like Sekhmet kept popping up over and over and over and over again. And I was like, all right, damn, like I'll do some research. Like, let me see who this person is. And then I saw the righteous anger thing. Now, for those who don't know me personally, like that is not, anger is not really a emotion you'll see out of me that often. She kind of learned to like help me learn that it was okay to be angry about things, and that most of the time our emotions really are trying to tell us something. I'm not just angry for no reason. In some way I felt slighted. I felt like my power is being taken away. I felt, I shouldn't say my power was being taken away. I was giving my power away. Let's rephrase that. But our emotions are telling us something. And the sooner that you can use those is like, okay, this normally means this, and this is what I do to fix it. That's just going to really help you to just navigate through like the normal day-to-day issues that come up in life. The whole point of like the shadow work is in integrating your shadow. Because a lot of people say like when you heal your shadow, it doesn't mean that it goes away. It means that you're acknowledging that part of yourself. You're acknowledging why you feel that way. And if you want to keep feeling that way, and you can make that decision. So funny, because as a kid, I even was calling Dim and recently found out I had a planet I used in a story and was another version for the name Apollo. Yeah, and that's exactly like how it is. Like, so those are those little synchronicities that pop up in life that I believe are like big green flags, like you're on the right path, right? And normally energetically, we can kind of feel if we're going in the right direction or not. But the decks and all that, like using cards, anything like that to ask questions, you can communicate with deities that way if you feel so inclined. Another thing too that I want to talk about, which I kind of talk about this in my shadow work class, specifically saying for making an inner child altar. But you can make an altar just dedicated to shadow work in general, but you're making an altar that's actually going to be to honor your shadow, to honor the part of you that you try to cast away, that you try and ignore. And I'm going to use a kind of analogy that I read. I want to say the guy's name was John Westwood, but I really could be wrong. But either way, I did not say this. This is a quote from someone else, but I really like the analogy that he uses. So he says that like when we are younger, our personality, ourselves, it's like we live in a giant castle with all these endless rooms, right? And we love every single room, whether it's perfect or not. We are just so excited to be in this giant castle. And as we start inviting people into our castle, and as we grow older, people start to say, I don't like that room. I don't like this. I don't like that. And we start closing these doors until we're finally just living in this like small little area and forget that the rest of the castle even exists. So when we're doing shadow work, we're like running down the hallways, ripping the doors open, finding those things that we pushed away a long time ago. And that way we can like live in our castle happily, peacefully, and have access to every room instead of just pushing them away because we don't want to deal with it. Last night, a beautiful experience happened. So I followed a really beautiful moth into the woods when it was dark until I was under the moon. And I felt to just dance. And while I was dancing, fireflies came out and I saw the best way to just, that is really cool. So you saw a pathway or a door. Did you go through it? Like, I have to know.
Invested now.
Yeah, I'm very invested in this. That's awesome though. Maybe like I think you said you do. Yeah, that kind of makes sense with Nike, but that's almost like Nick's energy too, that nighttime debauchery. But that sounds very cool. Made out of light. Well, that's good. At least it was a light one and not just like a black hole, right? That'd be a little scary. I probably still would go through it though. I'm definitely a touch the hot stove person, but that's funny.
I see you being like, Emily, don't touch that. And you're like, this one right here.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have to know. The curiosity in me.
Well, we're already over 1 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can really talk. Wow. Artemis, okay, that makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense. You're still a bit skeptical. And you can break the inner skeptic in you. I'm just gonna like address this comment here because it is okay, first of all, to be skeptical. It's healthy to be skeptical. That means that you're using like critical thinking and not just taking everything in as fact from other people. That's something that I see happen a lot in this community. We want to vet information anyway. So do what feels true for you. Some people never work with deities, and that's totally fine and valid. But it could be maybe that disbelief is something to dig into with your shadow. Like think about times in your life where you maybe believed in something and someone felt the need to bring you back down to earth. And now you're kind of doing that to yourself.
Brooke, something magic. I'm going to put my face in it.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Did we want to cover the 2 books?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because poor Eileen's out there running
I
the store by
know.
herself, so we have to...
So this book is awesome. It's called Light Magic for Dark Times. There is a section about shadow work in it. It says honoring darkness and finding light in the shadows. The artwork in this is beautiful, first of all. And I just really, really like the concept in general. I'll just read like one sentence here. Any book about light would be remiss not to mention the overwhelming importance of working with your shadow. Shadow work is a kind of magic that requires you to tap into the dark constructively. So this is something we keep hidden, silent, or tucked away. It's our subconscious. So then this book goes like further into it. A practice for finding your shadowy archetype, like that one. This one's about summoning your inner Hecate. So definitely a lot to do with the shadow work and everything and integrating that. What I really like is it talks about coping in a crisis. So it's going to help with those coping skills that we all could use. And then this is the one that Melissa is currently reading and trying to review. I know Eileen has another book by her called Call to Intuition or something like that. Okay. She really, really likes it. So this author's awesome.
Yeah, she really uses like nature and plants
like cool.
In that working, like in her meditations, like you're walking and you're blocked by like all these tumbleweeds, and as you try to pull, like your hands are cut, but then you let go and you're like, where do these weeds go and what's anchoring them, and then you can generally pull it out. So I'm about a quarter of a way through, like going through it and making all of my Post-it note tabs.
Yeah.
But that book is going to get a review live and record.
Yeah, and it
So-
looks like it's awesome. I love how it says the unmapped path of authenticity, because that's really what your shadow is. You're being authentic, so we're not hiding anything away. Yeah, definitely would recommend both of those books for sure.
But yeah, definitely look into the your books and the resources that you already have. And
Oh, wow.
that's the fun thing about learning different techniques and reading up on them is take what works for you and just leave the rest. Like
100%.
You're not obligated to always do every one thing, and there is no one way.
Right.
So yeah, definitely go through your resources and feel free to reach out. I know you can message us. I don't know if I can message back sometimes. It kind of depends. Like sometimes I can send a message and sometimes I can't.
Yeah. And the last thing for shadow work is like, if you're saying if something's right or not, like nothing is wrong. We all have lived a separate life in our own individual experience. So the way you do shadow work is going to be different than the person next to you, because it's a totally different life you've lived. The first book was called Light Magic for Dark Times by Lisa Marie Basile.
And I will check real quick and make sure if we have those on I'm pretty sure the Light Magic is. If not, give me about 10 minutes and they will be.
And while she's checking that, I'll answer Brooke's question here. So how do I feel about Moldavite? I think a lot of people are afraid of it, just like they're afraid of shadow work, because it's breaking down all the things that aren't working for you in your life. But it's going to bring the positive things back to you. It's like the crystal version of the Tower card in tarot, right? Nothing to be afraid of. Maybe not the first crystal you should buy if you've never worked with them before. But it's all going to be in the highest good. I don't think that we would have anything from the earth or the universe that is going to harm us if it's meant for healing. I should add that caveat, because there's obviously like poisonous animals and plants and such.
Well, and I will say there's a lot of misinformation about Moldavite on TikTok, and
yeah, don't believe what you read, what you hear on TikTok about Moldavite. I think that it brings nothing but positive things for sure.
So I just put the link for the Light Magic for Dark Times, and it is on the website. We've got 3 of them. And give me about 10 minutes and I'll have the other one, because it's like brand new, like came in I think the last week or so, and there's been just so many events that I haven't had time.
Yeah, we're busy witches here.
So, yeah, like I will be at Parasitecon all weekend, and when we're done here I have to finish packing for a show. So but yeah, if you need a copy of that book, there you are. But well, thank you for joining us, guys.
Yeah, it was so awesome talking to you. Hope to talk to you soon. Stones to be wary of? No, I don't think so. I don't think that there's, maybe just don't ingest raw malachite. Don't put raw malachite in water. Like there's some toxic crystals, but like
generally keep all crystals out of water.
Yeah, really though.
And your bath water.
Yeah, especially if it ends in "ite."
There are so many more that are toxic that people don't realize.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to have crystal charged water, get a glass pitcher, put the crystals around the outside and let it sit there for an hour or two.
Yep.
Now it's got the frequency. Put the crystals along the bathtub edge.
Right.
Like quit putting shit in your body, people.
Please.
That's how people hurt themselves.
Yeah.
But well, yeah, thanks for joining. We're gonna try and do these Friday chats on the regular. So feel free to join us next time. And there'll probably be different topics. We'll have to figure out something next week. And
I'm sure if there's one thing I could do, it's talk. So I'll think of something. It was nice talking to everybody, though. Very fun.
Yeah, we hope to see you guys again. What we'll do real quick is we will raid over to Books, Brews, and Booze. She is a fun lady. She is also into all of this woo-woo. And so she is somebody, she chatted a little bit with us Wednesday night, if you remember her, but she is very supportive and likes to help her friends like gain their traction. But yeah, she's open to
all of us or all of the woo woo.
Ooh.
And I'm trying to talk her in to joining us for one of the Wednesday night tarot pulls because she
Yeah.
also reads cards on the down low.
Ooh.
So we will go raid her channel, give her some love,
Yeah.
and meet new friends over there. And generally, if you like reading, and she's got kitties, if you like kitties. So thanks for joining, guys.
Yeah. Happy new moon, by the way.
Yeah. Join the new moon circle.
Yeah.
Annette.
I'm gonna make sure Eileen's alive.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's fun.